Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Jay Encarnacion, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are thrilled to have Justin Janowski, the founder and CEO of Faith2Influence. Justin brings over 14 years of sales and leadership experience, starting with the infamous selling of Cutco Knives and a deep passion for helping Christian coaches and entrepreneurs scale their businesses while staying true to their faith. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Faith2Influence, founded to empower Christian leaders, is transforming how entrepreneurs approach sales and business growth with integrity. We'll be exploring his founding story, how his business empowers clients through programs like Christian Coaches Academy, and his vision for scaling this faith-driven venture. So with that being said, let's dive right in. Justin, welcome to Founders Future.
Thanks for having me on, Jay.
An absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I can't wait to dive in for our listeners with you, Justin. So with that, I would love to start at the top, at the beginning for our listeners here. What specific problem in the Christian entrepreneurial space, Christian, really inspired you, Justin, to start Faith2Influence?
Well, what I've noticed is that in the marketplace, a lot of Christian entrepreneurs specifically struggle with sales and money mindset. They've got old stories about sales being greedy or pushy or manipulative or in some other way bad. And they've got old stories about money, that money's the root of all evil, which the Bible doesn't even say, by the way, for the Christian listeners. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. And we're told to love God and love our neighbor above
Mm,
all else. And so if we love money more than God and our neighbor, we've got a problem. But if we love
mm.
God and our neighbor more than we love money, then money can be a tool for good. And so what I recognize is just a need and an opportunity to transform the way people feel about sales. All people, but I specifically focus on the Christian entrepreneurial niche. And when we transform the way they feel about sales and teach them a high integrity process that can feel good for both sides, it removes resistance and clears the path to success in the marketplace.
Love that. I absolutely love that and what you're bringing forward with that faith side. So with that, as far as what you're doing, how have your offerings this far evolved since you started to today, Justin? So from what you're offering to who you're serving, how has that continuously evolved to now?
When my business was new, my initial target audience was Christian entrepreneurial men. It was a little bit broad in what we were doing, and it had success out of the gate, more than I expected. I collected over
Yeah.
$250,000 that first year in
Wow.
revenue, and my goal was 60. I was just hoping to stay alive. I wasn't burning my
Yeah.
boats either. I knew where I was going to ask for a job if it didn't work.
Yeah.
But when it went really well, with my first two offers there, then I had some of those Christian entrepreneurial men said, I want to be a coach. How'd you do this? And when I started working with them, I found that that was really compelling for me. And so after a couple of years, I shifted to working with Christian coaches, specifically men and women. And our offers have developed to the point where we now have three levels of offers. And I believe every new coach should have one or two signature offers. A scaling established business should probably have three. So now we have a membership offer that's low ticket and a volume opportunity. We've got 120 members in our Christian Coaches Academy. Then we've got a group mid-tier training program that we call Sales School. And then we've got a high ticket program that's our private coaching opportunity where I work with people for a full day and then they've got some additional bonuses and support throughout the year that they receive from us. And then we've got this kind of side business that I never intended to start. We call it partnership sales. Some of the 7 and 8 figure coaches in the marketplace hire us to do sales directly for them at their conferences. People like Pete Vargas, Pedro Adeo, David Bayer, and more, where we've been able to sell over $1 million in a weekend at big conferences. In the back of the room is the primary sales team. And so that's what I would call a back pocket offer. So if listeners are taking this in, one or two, or if you're established and scaling, maybe three signature offers make sense. And you might consider, is there a back pocket offer for your business? Something that's a service you can provide directly, that's worth a lot, that you're not going to be marketing to and trying to build all the time, but for the select one or two or three clients each year, could make a big difference on the bottom line. That's what we offer now.
Absolutely. Just incredible having that structure. That's really the beauty of the show, Justin. So super happy to have you on, being able to really talk to you that. So many of our listeners I know are probably thinking, just for what you addressed there, is how can I really structure this to be as effective as possible? And that is an incredible model that you have there. So what would you point to, Justin, as the bread and butter for you? More 70 or 80% of your business, is it going to be more on that private coaching? Is it one-on-one or group coaching, or is it going to be across the board with all those tiers and offerings that you have?
It's pretty split. This is an interesting question because I was looking at this yesterday
Wow, good
and
timing.
yeah, very good timing. What I'll say is we've got a higher percentage of clients in the low ticket membership than in any other program, but the high ticket offerings produces most of the revenue. It produces more than double what we do in the membership. And so for a newer coach or entrepreneur, I recommend just the one or two offers, and I would recommend that they start with high ticket and they could have a mid-ticket secondary offering. I think once you've been in business for a while and you've built a reputation and you've built an audience and people know you, I remember like holding 400 sales calls and making a lot of sales into five and $10,000 programs and
Right.
then deciding to launch a $75 a month membership. And I went back to every sales call I ever had. I sent them all a message and I just said, hey, I know that we talked about working together in the past. I've got this new opportunity. It's only $75 a month. And they knew me as a high ticket, like high value coach. And
Mm.
we had 80 people join the membership on day one before we launched, primarily
Wow.
just through messaging and texting because I'd established myself as a high value coach first. And so if someone's listening to this, I recommend the high ticket program as the primary offering to start. And then later on, after you've established yourself, bringing in a membership when there isn't a financial pressure to it, there's just the opportunity to build community and have an easy drop down. But for many coaches, the mistake they make is they include the membership at the beginning, and it's the reason they never achieve their goals, is because you can work really hard and make 10 sales to that, and you're only earning $750 a month. You should have been offering your high ticket to those first 10 clients.
Amazing. And that is, you are giving out gold right now to our listeners. So I really hope our listeners are tuning in closely because that is a really good way to take off, especially when you're first starting. Start there, and then you can build on the back once you have some credibility and you are established in the space and your niche. So just incredible to see what you're doing and have you really talking through that with us here, Justin. So what would you point to right now with the success that you've seen? What's working best today as far as acquisition goes? How are you getting continuous, predictable leads coming in for you, whether it's ads or referrals from your past successes or social media that you're doing effectively? Walk us through what channels are working best for you right now.
There are really three paths that we're focused on now. The first one is the easiest one, especially for a new coach, but it's also most effective even for us today, which is relationships. And so that includes what I call our natural market, people we already know, especially
Mhm.
if you've got a trusted relationship in the marketplace. If you've shown up generously and had integrity in your relationships, reach out to people you already know is probably the easiest way to make sales. Some people are scared of that idea, but there's so much value and opportunity there. Then referrals, networking, and just building new relationships all the time. We call it having coffee chats where you're just meeting somebody and like the frame is I want to learn about you and your business, share what I'm doing and see how we can support each other. Those kinds of like relational strategies still probably produce the most income for us and referrals from clients that we've already had. The second strategy is speaking. I'm really enjoying speaking as a strategy right now. Whether it's live or virtual, live in front of the right audience is better. Virtual in front of a mastermind group or paying clients, people who already invest in these kinds of things, can be valuable. Guesting on podcasts is another strategy. It's less likely to produce immediate sales, but it can happen that way. So, generally, though, speaking and delivering your message, providing some free value and training, and then having a nice call to action is a great step that people can take. And then the third thing that we're doing now is we are running ads to a weekly webinar. This is something that I don't think makes sense for most new entrepreneurs, new coaches, unless you've got a lot of money to invest, because it takes a lot of time. There's a lot of testing, there's a lot of skill set development to get really good at the ads. But right now, we run a weekly free training. We invite people to it through ads on social media. And then in that training, I provide tremendous value and then invite people to the next step. And so those are the three things that we're engaging in now. And I think that for most new entrepreneurs, the mistake would be to say, I want to try to do everything I hear somebody doing in the market and try to do it all at once as a solopreneur. There's probably phases and steps to it. And so deciding what are the one or two or three things that really work well for me that I can execute on now. And then in phase two or phase three, adding in additional complexity as we're looking to scale.
Beautiful. Absolutely incredible. And that was a big question I had for you is how are you approaching the idea of a scale, which you just hit right on the head right there. So really just implementing more in that complexity aspect of it, adding now you have are running the ad. So you did mention that right now, the person to person, the relationships, the referrals is working best for bringing in those leads, but now implementing the ads. How long have you been running those and starting that? How's that working out so far?
We've been running a weekly webinar for I think something like 15 weeks, and we're making an offer that is 1375 down and then 375 a month. So it's like our mid-ticket sales school offer there. And I think the 14 weeks, we're still experimenting with the strategy. We actually realized we think that we're running the wrong webinar, and we're preparing right now in the next 4 to 6 weeks to implement a new one that I think is going to call to our most ideal client a little bit more
Jesus.
closely. So there's a lot of experimentation, right? Every single week trying to optimize. But in 14 weeks, I think we've probably made 6 or 8 of those sales school sales. And then we've actually made 3 of our higher ticket sales that are over $10,000, even though it's not what we're offering on the webinar. Just
Right.
getting in conversations, that's come through as an opportunity. Actually, earlier this week, one of the people who bought sales school just upgraded to high ticket. So I think that's 4. And then we've
Ooh,
gotten a handful of our memberships sold through that as well. So it's been profitable and effective for us starting out. And we really believe that there's another level there. And I think that kind of investment when you're ready for scale is almost necessary. I think for us too, the recognition is what we're working on, what Russell Brunson calls the attractive character flywheel, and finding different ways to nurture our audience and provide value consistently and be seen. And then, of course, having like structures in place when people join our email list or when they come to one of those webinars, email sequences and all those things. And it's very complex. And I actually don't think we need it to build a business of $100,000 or 200 or even $300,000. But once we want to go from a few $100,000 a year to a million or more, that's when it's a necessity that we have ads. If you want to build a lifestyle business and do 50 or 100 or 150 a year, you could do all of that through relational building and maybe some speaking. But if we want to go to the next level, getting into the ad game, webinars, funnels, automations becomes really important.
incredible. Absolutely incredible. Just love all the different paths that you're taking. I think that's the most important piece for our listeners right now is to really hear what you just mentioned. There are different levels to the game. And as you just said, if you want to sit in the front and have more of a lifestyle business, you can do that and see success without going this far. But once you really want to take it to that next level, scale it, really grow and provide that quality, these are the different steps that need to be taken. So just incredible hearing you walk through that, which is why I love hosting the show and hearing how the brain of a founder works. So just amazing having you on so far, Justin. What does that sales process look like? You clearly have a great system. You know what you're offering. You have a great acquisition side of things going. What is that sales process? Are you running the show on your own here? Do you have a sales team, marketing team, assistant here? Walk us through that process.
Great question. And as we're transitioning from like the business model and the business design to sales, can I offer the audience a gift here?
Absolutely.
Okay, we've got this cool thing for coaches, and we call it like the coach plan. And I want to offer it to everybody for free. It's basically a little survey that's going to ask you a few questions and it's going to help you get some information that could be the foundations of your plan and your marketing strategy and your goals and just getting some of those things in place. This is free for everyone. It's also going to give them access to our weekly sales newsletter and our weekly sales podcast. All you have to do if you're listening, if you're enjoying this is resonating, grab your phone and open your texting app. And I want you to text to the number 33777. And you're just going to text the word plan,
Mhm.
PLAN, to the number 33777. We're going to send you some free resources right to your phone and help you with the business planning process as we're about to transition to sales here. So, one more time, that's texting plan to the number 33777. Thanks, Jay. Okay, so
Absolutely.
regarding sales, I still am at this stage in our business the best salesperson on my team. I think most founders, that's read or heard recently, that is absolutely the last responsibility that we should try to fully delegate away because there's no question about it that most founders, actually, I would say all founders, are going to be the best salesperson for their organization, nearly all, because they're the head person. They know the vision the best. They can speak with the most authority. People like being on the conversation with the founder. If I lead that webinar and I run an amazing training and people like connect with me, the opportunity to get on a call with me afterwards means a lot. And my conviction is higher than my sales team. And I know that it's usually the thing I think founders would love to pass on the soonest is like they want somebody else to do sales. But I think it's the thing that we should hold on to the longest because it's where we create true income. It's the IPA, the income producing activities, us getting on a real conversation with a real person, inviting them to buy. Now I'm building towards transitioning out of that role or spending less time in sales. And so to that end, we've got a couple of salespeople on our team as well. And they're doing a good job. They're closing deals. They've closed some of the high ticket deals. They've closed some of the mid ticket deals. They're closing a lot of the membership deals. And there's a skill set development that's happening. But for me to be learning and growing alongside them while they're learning the sales process is really valuable. So we meet and we're in a team going for this together. But when we get to the end of a webinar, we're going to offer a click and buy, but we're also going to offer book a call with the team. We're going to have a round robin and We want more just click and buys in general, but that's
Right.
a harder thing to get to with real offers. And I think that there's this like idea in the marketplace that we'd love to remove sales and grow our businesses. And it's oftentimes a fantasy for new entrepreneurs or coaches. I want to tell you, they're lying to you. You can't have success without making sales. It's the only way. And so I'm really engaged in sales right now alongside my two sales reps, but building and developing their skill sets and confidence so that they can do more of the sales and I can do less of it as time goes on.
I love it. I love it. So with that there, then really talk to us because again, as I mentioned, you have a great plan set out here. So to scale, because that looks like that is what's on your mind right now, is really taking this to that next level, hitting those seven figures a year consistently. So what's the plan now moving forward? Are you looking to continue to build on that team, bring in some more setters, closers that are just A players that can really represent you in that highest light so you can focus on that founder level work now moving forward?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And there's this question that I have to answer first, which
Yeah.
everyone has to answer, which is right now my business is doing enough, several $100,000 a year,
Yeah.
that I could cruise into a lifestyle business. Like I could simplify, have fewer team members, fewer processes, and
Yep.
I could just run a lifestyle business that could provide for my family. Or the question is, do I want to scale to the next level? And I would like to do that. And so, yeah, we're looking at there's a quantity question around team members, there's a quality question around team members, and there's real quality questions around the funnel design and the automations and the email. And again, we're working on this webinar every week and saying like, how can we get the language right? How can we attract more of the right people? How can I make that offer more compelling? So there's so many different aspects that we're looking at right now. And there's no question about it. I need to be really engaged right now for us to get through the season that we're in and get over this hump of scale to a new level. And I absolutely want to remove myself from the business more and more over time. I want to make sure that client service and like actually providing for the clients who buy from us becomes something that doesn't rely on me and my personality. I want to make sure that sales can happen without relying on me and my personality. I like to turn our business into more of a machine and free up my time more and more so that I can think about the big picture things, network and build relationships with important people in the marketplace, and work on the business more than working in the business. I still
Yes.
feel even 6.5 years in that I'm a startup. And there's a
Yeah.
phase here where I still need to hustle, but I would love 1 year from now to see my time in the business going down and my time working on the business and through people going up.
Incredible. And I think that's the biggest piece there is again, getting to a point where you as a founder and CEO put in the heavy lifting, put in the work, and now have a machine built to where it is time to scale, right? Get to that next level, put yourself in that CEO role. So again, just for our listeners tuning in, this has been a phenomenal episode so far. You have given so much gold to those that are just starting out, right? And are thinking, okay, what should I do? Which steps should I take? How should I navigate this? And this has been a phenomenal example of what you need to do, put in the work, provide the quality, start here, high ticket, and then you can continue to build and go and grow your team and then put yourself in more of that CEO role working on the business instead of in it. Just incredible overall. So with everything that you have set up, right, and the plan that you have in front of you, what can you point to right now, Justin, as a bottleneck that you're thinking about solving, whether that is consistent quality lead gen or converting those leads to the fulfillment side? What can you point to on that
Yeah.
front?
It's pretty much always, for almost all, it's the client acquisition and sales. And so, yes, if I had the wrong business design, it would be the amount of time it takes for me to serve my clients. But I've removed a lot of one on one coaching from my business. And so, most of what I do is pretty leveraged in a group format. I would love to make sure I have empowered team members to lead the client service, but that's less of a problem than client acquisition and sales. So if we're feeling stuck, it's of course like getting in front of more ideal prospects. Always, that's always a problem that we're solving for. How can we get in front of more of our ideal clients and invite them to buy in a high integrity way that makes it easy for the right people to say yes? And so there's the element of spend and investment in the funnel. There's the way that we're running the ads. There's the number of sales calls that we're getting booked. There's the number of people that we have who can effectively hold those sales calls and close the deal with confidence. And so those are the biggest opportunities. Once that's happening more consistently and we're growing the number of clients, if we grow from 120 clients to 300 clients, there's going to be a
Yep.
lot more customer service, but that's an easy problem to solve with the additional revenue. We can hire more community managers and customer service team and that sort of thing. So first step is, of course, how do we get in front of more of our ideal clients and how do we make more of them, get more of them to the place of saying yes?
I love it. I absolutely love that. And one of the big questions that I love to ask, Justin, is the vision, right? What does the rest of the year, the next year look like? But you really hit the nail on the head for me there. So I don't think I need to. The next year really is going to be growth, scale,
Yeah.
building out the team, putting yourself in a position where you can be, again, working on the business, not in it, achieving that 7 figures a year goal. So a lot on the plate there, but with the plan ahead of you, it looks like that's going to be very easily achieved. A big question that I have for you is how do you see the Christian coaching industry as a whole evolving in the coming years, especially with the faith-based approach that you have to sales? What are you really doing to position yourself on the forefront of that evolution with everything that you have set out for yourself?
Well, one thing that we're really excited about is next week we're actually running a live conference in Milwaukee. So people
Nice.
are listening to this. I know it'll be too late for them to come join us, but we've got 70 to 80 Christian coaches and entrepreneurs coming out to spend time together there.
Very cool.
Tom Ziegler's coming to speak. He had me speak at his event last week or last month, excuse me, on sales is love, the keynote that I like to deliver. And what I'm excited about is like bringing people together. So what I see in like the Christian coaching space and where it's going is I just think there's a lot of collaboration. And listen, like I'm not talking about like coaching people on how to be Christians. So when I say Christian coach, in case it's unclear to some people, it just means like a Christian who's a coach. You might be a marketing coach, might be a health and fitness coach, might be a relational coach. But I just see like the opportunity that we have to embrace high integrity sales and create an experience for both sides on a sales conversation that feels good. Sales when done right feels like coaching. It feels like leadership with an invitation at the end of it. It just feels like this generous kind of love offering. I've had people cry and hug me and thank me after sales conversations when they don't buy. And I want
Yeah,
people to really embrace sales in a new way. And I also think there's an opportunity for us to embrace collaboration, for us to lift each other up, for us to encourage each other, for us to promote each other. And I'd like to see the faith-based entrepreneurs having more success in the marketplace and glorifying God through that.
absolutely beautiful. I love every bit of that. So, with that right there, I could sit here and talk to you for hours, Justin. It's a pleasure having this conversation with you so far. I do want to take us into the lightning round here for our listeners before we wrap up. And one of the main questions that I love asking here is going to be more on the tool or resource side. Obviously, seeing a ton of success over the past 6 years here, Justin. So, whether it's a strategy from your Cutco days or a faith based insight or an AI tool that's working really well, what's been a game changer this far for Faith to Influence?
The the two things that are going to come to mind is one, just prayer and surrender,
Mm,
and following that up with aligned action. And the prayer and surrender side is I want to trust God with my business. I need to pray. I need to surrender. When I'm feeling weak or not good enough or having self doubt, which I had a lot more when I was new, I just had
yeah,
to be like, God, I trust you, deliver through me. And then I have to follow up that prayer and surrender with action, like weekly action, focus on the income producing activities, the IPAs, because without the consistent action, it's hard for God to answer the prayer. But the other thing I wanted to bring up was just the idea that we have to just be bold and do it scared. Sometimes we just have to do it. If we wait till we don't feel scared, we're never going to get started. And so for new founders, new entrepreneurs, we have to just be bold enough to do it scared. We write be bold. That's our theme for the year, but we replace the
love
O with a heart. So there's like this loving boldness
it.
on sales calls, this loving boldness on coaching calls, this loving boldness in marketing. I think that's what we need to bring forward that really works.
I love it. I love it. And then last but certainly not least here, Justin, to wrap up the show for our listeners, what is a piece of advice that you can offer to our listeners tuning in right now? A phenomenal episode overall. You gave so much. So what can you finish off with before we end the show?
This is simple, but it's important. We need to have great mentors. I tried to launch a coaching business twice before I launched Faith2Influence. One was like 10 years earlier. I had my first coach. I made 2 sales and I lost those 2 clients and the business was over and I was back into my normal day job. It was just a little side hustle. And then I tried again and I made 4 sales and I had a few more clients, a little bit more success, but ultimately it fizzled. And then I
Mm,
got great mentors who knew what they were doing in business, knew how to do sales, knew how to do marketing. They were running a successful coaching business. And once I received that mentorship, I actually worked with them for a few years. Then when I relaunched for the third time, I took the third attempt. Then I did $250,000 in 1 year. And I just think
amazing.
great coaches, great leaders, everyone I know has other great coaches, leaders, and mentors who are lifting them up. And so find the people who know what you want to know, who align with your values, and follow them. That's going to make so much more ease in your journey.
I absolutely love that. With that right there, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap up an incredibly inspiring episode of Founders Future. Justin, I truly cannot thank you enough coming on the show, sharing that amazing journey and your insights with us. As I mentioned, clear as day, just an incredible soul, the passion you have, the drive you have. It's clear why you have that success. And it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show walking us through that. I know our listeners loved it, as did I. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, which, as I just mentioned, I'm sure so many of you have, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also check out Faith2Influence at faith2influence.com to learn more about their programs, and follow Justin on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Justin Janowski. And for more resources and insights, you can visit us here at closers.io, where we are dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth through trained appointment setters and world-class marketing systems. Until then, keep climbing, and we will see you on the next one.